Good evening. Welcome to this Yin Yoga practice. I'm glad that you could join me, whether you're here with me live or you're catching the replay whenever you find space to do the class during the week. I'll just say a little bit about the class this evening and what you might need, and then we will get started. So in terms of props, you really won't need too many props this evening. You need a blanket. I would always recommend having at least one blanket, if not two, but we will use a blanket. And if you have a bolster, great. If not, a couple of pillows, something that'll be supportive anyway for you. So a couple of large cushions, a couple of large pillows could be handy. So blanket, bolster / couple of pillows. Or if you know that you like to use blocks as support, for sometimes under your forehead, things like that, having those nearby as well. But they won't be essential for any of the poses tonight. So don't worry if you don't have any yoga blocks. So this evening we'll be paying particular attention to the upper body and the spine. Often in yin classes, we focus more on the lower body and the hips, which is great because we could all do with plenty of that. But it's nice to also pay attention to the upper body, the spine, particularly up around the upper back, the neck. I think at the moment, it's a time where we're spending a lot of time sitting during the day, sometimes in the same position for a long time. The days are shorter, the weather isn't great, so we're probably not getting out moving as much as we're used to. So it's really common to find a little bit of just stiffness or tension gathering around the back, shoulders and neck. So our focus this evening will just be bringing a little bit of awareness and space into that part of the body through our yin practice. So we'll get started in a moment and we're going to start lying down and we'll use the blanket. So if you take your blanket, whatever kind of blanket you've got, and fold it into a square or rectangle, and then fold it again and maybe again. So you've got this kind of flat little sausage-shaped blanket that's about the length of the mat across, so that you're able to lie it across the mat, and you just want it high enough that it's a little bit raised off your mat. So folding it into a square rectangle, folding it again and folding it again until you've got this long rectangular piece of blanket. And you can just set that so that it's towards the top of your mat where your head will be, but that there's enough space for your shoulders and head. So about 3/4 of the way up the mat. And then just coming to lie so that you're kind of the back of the heart, the shoulder blades are on the blanket, and you can take a few moments just to find that. So you might feel the bottom of the shoulder blade settling onto the blanket. Head is comfortably on the mat. And where you place your arms is really up to you. You might like the feeling of having the hands resting on the body. You might like to take the arms out to the sides. So you'll have the upper arms kind of resting on the edge of the blanket. You might even like to take the arms back over the head to give an extra opening to the chest, or just arms by the side. So there's a few options there. So just taking a few moments to find that comfortable position. And the legs can be stretched out, or you might have the knees bent with the feet resting on the mat. And just noticing the feeling of the body settling down onto the ground. Noticing the feeling of the mat and the support under the shoulders. As we settle into this space, settle into this practice, maybe beginning with a couple of deeper breaths, just feeling the breath move in and letting the breath go. Just feeling yourself settle into this space. The eyes might be softly closed, or they can be open. Just allowing the eyes be soft. Maybe picturing the space around you, the room you're in. Noticing what sounds you can hear. And then turning your awareness to the breath. Just start to notice the breath as it moves in and out of the body. And notice where in the body you feel the breath moving at the moment. Becoming aware of the pace and the rhythm of the breath. And you can maintain the same natural rhythm of breathing. Or if it's comfortable, you might start to slowly deepen and lengthen the breath. Gradually expanding the inhalation and lengthening the exhalation. Maybe starting to follow that breath from the bottom of the lungs all the way up as you breathe in. Breathing in, feeling the breath move from the bottom of the rib cage all the way to the collarbones. And breathing out all the way back down. You might feel the gentle movement of the breath through the rib cage, the lungs, and all the little muscles connecting the ribs, the intercostal muscles. Feeling the breath move not only along the front of the rib cage, but along the side and back ribs as well. Just noticing if the attention starts to wander away, which it will do. And in that moment of awareness, just gently guiding the attention back to the breath. And these next few breaths, just allowing the breath to settle into a natural, comfortable rhythm. Letting the awareness return into the body as you do. Just noticing how the body feels, what sensations you're aware of. And then moving in whatever way feels comfortable for you. Inviting you to find your way slowly up to a seated position, and we'll get ready for our first posture from there. Just moving slowly. And coming up to a seated position, and if you'd like something to sit on, I'd suggest just either keeping the blanket at the height it is or folding it again to make a little cushion underneath the sitting bones. And just find a comfortable seat. We'll start with bringing a little bit of awareness to the neck. So I'm going to sit comfortably and taking the right hand underneath the right sitting bone. So you're sitting your right buttock onto the right hand. And as you do that, you might feel a gentle pull or lengthening down the right side of the body. So just taking a moment to notice that. And then if it feels okay, gradually letting the left ear drop towards the left shoulder. Doing that slowly, so you're moving through sensation, and notice when you get to a point of sensation that feels like a good place for you to stop, and just notice how that feels. And you can stay here with the ear dropping to the shoulder, or if you'd like a little bit of extra weight there, you could take the left arm over the head and just rest the left hand on the right side of the head. And not applying any pressure or pushing. So in our yin practice, there's no real force, there's no real effort. It's just embracing the inner ragdoll and slackening here. So the arm is just acting as a weight without any added pressure or force. And once you've found the position that works for you, so looking for that Goldilocks level of sensation that you can feel something, but it's not too intense. Sensation you can be with for a little bit of time. And once you've found that, just letting yourself drop and settle into it. Where can you feel the sensation? What kind of sensation is it? How's the breath here? Noticing how it feels now after a little bit more time here. About 30 more seconds here. And then moving slowly, you can release the left arm down if it's resting on your head. Gradually bring the head back to center. Just rest the hands in the lap for a few moments. Maybe just letting the chin slightly drop. Noticing what you can feel here, particularly if there's any differences between the left and right side. And then getting ready to switch over. So left hand underneath the left sitting bone this time. Again, taking that stage by stage so you can feel that little shift once you bring the hand down. And then that slow lowering of the right ear to the right shoulder. Just feeling the sensation change as you move down. You might let the hand stay resting on the knee or on the mat, or you might drape the arm over. And there's no version that's any better than another. It's just what the body needs at this moment, what feels good right now. And that'll be different for everyone. So once you've found it, just think if you can drop and soften into it. How is this feeling compared to the other side? Do you notice any differences? Where is the sensation here? What kind of sensation is it? As you spend longer here, noticing if any stiffening or tightness creeps into the jaw, the shoulders. Just returning to that softening, letting go of any holding that you notice. The last few breaths here. And again, slowly moving back up. You can release the arm down. Gently bring the head back to center. Maybe rest the hands in the lap. And allow yourself a few moments there just to feel whatever you feel. Bringing a little curiosity to the sensations in the body as they arise. And then we'll stay with the neck here. And this time, just letting the chin drop forwards gently towards the chest. And again, you have an option to pause here, noticing the feeling down the back of the neck, maybe further down into the spine. Or you also have an option of interlacing the fingers and bringing the hands to the back of the head and letting the elbows drop. And once again, not applying any pressure or pulling or pushing, just allowing the arms to be dead weights as though the elbows are made of lead and they're just dropping down. And of course, our intention in a yin practice is to find our position and remain still for time. But know that any time that this becomes too uncomfortable or another position would serve you better, always feel free to move. Just noticing where you feel this in the body. That might be at the back of the neck, or it might be further down the spine. Maybe elsewhere. Noticing how it feels after a little bit more time here. Has anything changed at all? It's our last few breaths here. And then slowly lifting the head back up. Releasing the hands down. Pause here and just notice how that feels. Notice what you can feel. And you can remain sitting, or if you like, just inviting you to lie back for a moment as you take a little rebound, little reset after those neck poses, just to stretch the legs out, release the hips as well. After sitting in the same position for a while. As you release down onto the mat, just feeling into the body, any sensations that arise, if any. Noticing where you feel the breath. So take as long as you like lying here. When you're ready, you can come to sit again and we'll do another seated posture. Taking your time to get there. Again, you might like to sit on a folded blanket. I like sitting on a cushion or folded blanket for some of these seated postures because it just gently elevates the pelvis, giving it a little tip forward, which if you do find you can feel a little more restricted or tighter in the backs of the legs and up into the back of the body, can give a feeling of a little bit more space. So you could try that. But if you are sitting on a blanket or cushion, I like to sit right towards the edge of it so that my sitting bones are on it, but not so much the backs of the thighs. And you can just stretch the legs out in front and feel free to have a little bend in the knees. You could even have a rolled up blanket or cushion underneath the knees as well if you'd like a little bit of support. And then we'll just be folding forwards over the legs into our caterpillar pose. So letting the spine round, and particularly if you're used to doing this in a more active class, we really lengthen and reach, but we're embracing the inner ragdoll. So just letting that go, letting the spine round and let the head drop just like we did in the previous pose. And you might like to let gravity support you here, just let the head hang. Or you might like to, if you have a block, pop a block under the head. Or if you have your pillows or your bolster, you could rest your pillows or your bolster into your lap and use that for support. So take a few moments to get yourself set up and settled. Again, finding the place where you're aware of the sensations in the body, but nothing that's too intense. Once you've found that place, just letting your awareness go to where the sensation is. And that might be in a couple of different places here. So just exploring that with the awareness. I'm curious about it. How does the breath feel here? Where in the body are you feeling the breath moving? After a little bit more time, does it still feel the same? You might be noticing that the body adapts to being here and naturally drops a little deeper without any pushing or force to do that. Or you might find that the body is ready to move back from the edge a little bit and ease out of it. Just honoring whatever the body's telling you, responding to it. Noticing if the attention has wandered away. Anytime that you become aware of that, just gently guiding the attention back to what you can feel here and now. Whether that's the sensations in the body or the breath, or even the feeling of the ground and the props. Last few breaths here. And then very slowly, just beginning to move back up out of the pose. Take your time. And then if it feels okay to, just come to lie on your back again for that rebound position. It might feel quite stiff as you release and move down onto the back. And sometimes the urge can be to do a counter pose or movement to shake off any of the maybe sometimes odd sensations we feel after coming out of the long hold poses, which is absolutely fine, and always do that if that's what feels good for you. This lying back is just an invitation to feel whatever sensations are there without needing to change it right away. How do you feel now compared to when you first lay down out of the pose? And stay lying for the next posture. Just inviting you to turn over to lie on your belly instead. It's lying on the front body. I'm going to set up for Sphinx pose. So take the forearms to the mat. Elbows can be about under the shoulders. And once you set up there, notice how that feels for the lower back. You can expect a little bit of compression in the lower back, but nothing pinchy or painful. So just noticing how that feels for you. If it feels a little too much, slide the elbows a little further forward away from the body, and that will lessen the compression in the lower back and hopefully ease the sensation. And you might be here in Sphinx, or you might be here in Sphinx for a little while. And if you're not feeling an awful lot in the lower back, you have the option of coming to a seal pose as well, which is lifting the elbows. Oh, my elbows cracked quite loudly there. And coming up onto the hands. Same thing applies. So the further back towards you, you bring your hands, the deeper into the lower back you go. And the further forwards you bring the hands, the less compression in the lower back. And bearing in mind, we're here for a few minutes. So what might feel lovely at the beginning, that might change over time. So with our yin practice, we don't need to go to the deepest place, the deepest level of sensation. Nor do we need to go to the deepest outward expression of the pose. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's about what you can feel while you're there. So tuning into that. You might have the chin dropping to the chest, or you might just have the neck in line with the spine, maybe gazing ahead or softly closing the eyes. And letting the awareness go to where the sensation is here. And where you're noticing it. Maybe it's in the lower back. It might be in the arms, the shoulders. Or maybe along the belly, the front of the hips. Just tuning into your own experience here. after a little bit more time here, how does it feel? Has the level of sensation increased or decreased? Are you still feeling it in the same place? And if it still feels like a good place to be, you can remain as you are. Or feel free to move from Sphinx to Seal or Seal to Sphinx. If you'd like to change position for the last couple of minutes here. Our last few breaths here. And then slowly releasing down out of the pose. And you can just come to lie on the belly. You might use your hands as a little pillow under your forehead. Or you might prefer to just rest the arms down by the sides, resting your cheek onto your mat or your block. Just finding a comfortable position and just tuning into what you feel in the body. And as you lie and settle here, just read these words. How do you cross the flood? You cross calmly, one step at a time, feeling for stones. How do you cross the flood, my heart? You cross calmly, one step at a time, or not at all. Remaining lying as we move into the next posture, which we can come into from lying on the back, so you can turn over again to lie on your back. So we focused on flexion, rounding of the spine, and a little extension of the spine. So now we're going to move into a little bit of twisting, rotation of the spine. So you could take your arms out at shoulder level, making a kind of T shape if you've got space. Otherwise, you can just bend the elbows to kind of cactus shape arms. Bend the knees up towards you and cross the left leg over the right, hugging the thighs together, just like you cross your legs sitting in a chair. And then let the legs tip over to the right. And they can tip all the way down, or you can pop your pillows under the legs for a bit of support. And you might let the head drop to the left in a little counter twist away from the legs. So this can be quite a deep twist, particularly for the lower back, the lumbar spine. And find the higher up the knees come towards the chest, the further up into the back the twist moves, or the lower down towards the hips, more down into the sacral area towards the pelvis it moves. So you can adjust the position of the legs up or down depending on what feels good for the spine at the moment. And as you find your position here, you allow the body to really drop and release into the ground. As the body settles, just tuning into where the sensation is. Where you feel this twist in the body. How does the breath feel? Does it move easily through the body? Or is there a little restriction in the twist that you feel? And if you do feel that little restriction around the breath or in the spine, and you just notice and observe how the breath finds a way around it. The breath calmly finds a way. Last remaining breaths here. And then slowly untwist, unwind back to center. And just releasing the legs out, releasing the arms. Just feeling what you can feel here. Noticing any sense of tingling, vibration in the body, any sense of heat or cooling, differences on the left and right sides. And it might be that nothing particularly stands out, but that's something as well. If that's how it feels for you, just noticing how that is. Maybe becoming aware of the breath. And then when you're ready to, you can come to the other side. So again, arms can come out, feeling the upper back broaden as you bend the knees up. Crossing right leg over left this time and letting the legs tip to the left. And this might feel quite different on one side compared to the other. So just taking your time as you move into it. Might feel nice to prop onto the knees or move the knees higher or lower. Once you've found your spot, and you let the body really soften and drop into the ground. How does this feel? Any differences to the other side? Where is the attention at the moment? You notice that it's drifted away to another time and place. That's okay. And when you notice that, you can gently return the awareness to whatever helps anchor you here and now. Whether that's the bodily sensations, maybe the breath, or the feeling of the ground, the blanket. Just a few more breaths here. And then slowly moving back into center. Untwisting, unwrapping, unwinding, in whatever way works for you. And just come to lie here. Again, noticing what you can feel. You can stay lying on your back as we get ready for the next posture. So our final posture will focus on a little bit of lateral bend in the spine, moving to the side. And that'll be Bananasana. So you can start with your body in the center of the mat, as it probably is right now, and move both feet over to the bottom right corner of the mat. So walking the feet over to the bottom right corner of the mat. And then you can take your arms overhead and you might gently cradle the elbows, or you might rest one hand in the other, or just lightly hold the wrist. And then move the head and arms over to the top right corner. So you're making this crescent or banana shape with the body. Now, another option for this that I quite like is to use the left hand as a support under the head and just let the right arm drape down outside the right hip. And that sometimes just acts as an extra little weight, gently helping you sink into the pose. Just find the version that works for you. And the feet can be side by side, or you might cross the right ankle onto the left. Again, just letting the right leg kind of be like a little weight, encouraging the left foot over to the right. So here it's not about making the body really active to get into the deepest side bend. This is about moving the body gently into that position and just using the natural weights and levers of the body to find the shape that you can be in with ease. Turning the awareness into that lengthened left side of the body. Noticing where you feel the sensation. Anywhere from the left foot all the way up the left leg, the outside of the hip, into the side waist and the side ribs. Maybe up into the sides of the chest and shoulders, the underarm, down the left arm. Just noticing where it shows up for you. Just be here for a few more breaths. And slowly moving back into center with the legs, and the arms, and the head. Just releasing the arms down, releasing the legs. Noticing how this feels, particularly any differences left to right. And then when you're ready, you can switch sides. So again, maybe starting with the feet, moving over to the left, and then arms overhead. And you can choose whatever option you were doing on the last side, or you might change. Easing the head and arms over to the top left. And once you've found your edge, the place that feels good for you to be, just letting yourself drop and soften into it. Just receiving the support from the ground. Noticing where you feel the sensation, maybe the sense of lengthening, expanding in the side of the body. Where can you feel the breath moving? Just a few more breaths here. And then slowly moving back into center. And releasing the arms, releasing the legs. And moving into Shavasana now. So if you'd like to make yourself more comfortable, maybe An extra blanket, extra layer, cushion under the head, bolster behind the knees. You might cover the eyes if you like with an eye pillow or a scarf. Just take a few moments to get yourself settled and comfortable. And just allowing the full weight of the body to drop down. Just receiving the support from the ground. Feeling the body become heavy. And there's nothing to do here at all. Just allow yourself to be here and to rest and digest that practice in your Shavasana. Just becoming aware again of the feeling of the body here on the ground. Knowing the sensations you feel, maybe the touch of the props, the blanket, the air on your skin. Tuning into any sounds that you can hear, whether that's close by or from further away. Just inviting in the sound. Maybe starting with some gentle, familiar movements of the hands and feet. You might rub the fingers and thumbs together, wiggling the toes. Maybe gently circling the ankles and the wrists. Maybe moving the head from one shoulder to the other. And you might like to remain here lying for a little bit longer. Please feel free to do that. Or if you're ready to, you can come to a seated position as we prepare to close the practice. Just taking your time as you move if you're moving to seated. And you might have the eyes still softly closed, or they might be open. Just letting the eyes be soft, unfocused. You can bring the hands together in front of the heart. And for a moment, just turning the attention to the breath. And just sensing where in the body you feel the breath moving at the moment. Noticing the in-breath and the out-breath. And then gently lowering your head in towards your heart. And thank you for your practice. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, you're welcome to stay now and ask any. Otherwise, have a lovely, relaxing evening, or whatever time of day it is when you do this, if you're on the recording. One more yin practice before Christmas. It's on Tuesday, and there's a dynamic flow on Monday. They're the last 2 classes before Christmas. And if you check your email, there's a couple of classes between Christmas and New Year. So hopefully I'll see you at one of those. But if not, have a really lovely Christmas break, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.